Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some very intriguing stuff going on where we're actually now seeing Xbox, you heard it right, Xbox itself, basically going and fine-tuning and basically developing up one of the coolest features and coolest updates for the PlayStation 5 controller. So that's kind of a little bit of a somewhat of a hyperbole for the title itself, but if you guys actually listen for a few minutes, you guys will get to go and see, because we actually have a really cool upcoming title, as well as also some really cool upcoming features, and just overall really intriguing stuff kind of going on how people are utilizing the PlayStation 5 controller, and especially how this might actually be utilizing and also sparking ideas for things in the future too as well. So it's always kind of cool when we have these somewhat inadvertently Xbox Series X and PlayStation collabs going on. So a lot of fun stuff to go and talk about. And I always love these weird collabs just happen in general. So first and foremost, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 digital console and controller. Twitter and Twitch stream as well, link down below. Sign up for that Weeble, sign up for that Coinbase. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching. And check out that Twitter giveaway down below. So as you guys may have heard, or you guys may just heard me maybe mention just in general, we actually do have some cool games coming out, such as Ghostwire Tokyo. But the one very intriguing thing to know, and this kind of leads into the whole spark of all these features and all these kind of cool things mixed on in, is that that's actually owned and basically made by Bethesda. Now, as you guys probably have even heard too, Deathloop, which has been a very kind of sought-after game, a very well-rated game in this past year, was also once again kind of commingled with Bethesda itself. And it was a really awkward kind of mix in too, because as you guys know, Microsoft and Xbox literally went and bought out Bethesda, bought the company, bought the IPs and all that type of good stuff. They physically own it. But of course, in terms of proper business, they agreed to continue any other previous contractual obligations. So that means that Sony themselves, such as like Deathloop, actually have had a lot of really good games kind of coming on out that are just specifically for the PlayStation 5, completely ignoring the Xbox and Xbox Series X. So very intriguing to go and see. So you guys can probably see just off of that alone on how this is probably going to turn into a really cool collaboration. So with Ghostwire Tokyo coming out in the next few weeks, we're getting a lot more features, a lot more gameplay, a lot more just everything, and people have actually had in all honesty, proper wording hands-on for the game itself. So let's go talk about this one in regards to how Xbox basically just helped out the PlayStation and just made some really cool things. So with this, we have an article over here from a tech writer basically saying an Xbox developer helped improve one of the best PlayStation 5 features. Ghostwire Tokyo devs gave Sony's controller some pretty strong feedback. Let's go talk about this. So the developers of Ghostwire Tokyo, they have played a crucial role in improving Sony's unique DualSense controller. Thanks to some strong feedback from the studio's legendary founder, Shinji Mikami. In a candid interview for the Win, Tango Gameworks producer Masato Kimura recalled that he visited Sony to look at a prototype version of the PlayStation 5 controller with Mikami-san, who said its haptic feedback, basically in adaptive triggers, more so felt too weak. So Kimura said that Mikaki, I always feel so bad saying these names, I always feel like I say them so wrong, then told him he was nipping to get some tea, when in reality, Mikami was going back to see Sony so he can give them some pretty strong feedback about the controller. So Mikaki-san is quite verbal in the way he expresses things. I'm so bad at these names. Kimura told For the Win, the folks at Sony were probably taken aback and a little frightened by the power of Mikami-san's vocalness. So first and foremost, let's go kind of talk about maybe some upcoming features too as well. So this also may have actually had some sort of say too, because some of those big comments he's about to mention in a second, was that he really wanted to go and have more stronger, I believe, adaptive feedback and also triggers too as well in the top right, which if you guys have also seen recently, we'll talk about a little bit more throughout the video, has also been brand new features when it comes to the controller itself. So basically, he's very verbal too as well, and basically we're afraid. Afterwards, when we received a closer to final prototype of the controller, Mikami-san was very happy with how his feedback was used within Sony to improve the controller. It was very impressive that they were able to take our feedback seriously and actually make improvements. So this is in all regards now to Ghostwire Tokyo. It takes advantage now of the PlayStation 5 DualSense features in a number of pleasing ways. And as you guys know, it's probably one of the bigger selling points and bigger kind of bonus points of a lot of PlayStation 5 games is always been the controller. And I always kind of use the same example. I haven't used it in quite some time, but if you guys are long-term regulars, I always use the example of, say you're holding on a cliff, like you're literally in a game, like you're just in an action sequence, and like you're literally holding on for dear life. And that's where you should be really slamming down on that controller and having that proper feedback and knowing that you're literally hanging on on the edge of a cliff. And it kind of puts you more in that perspective and kind of puts you more in that, like, you're physically feeling the game. Or maybe say you're playing a Spider-Man and you're trying to go and, like, move a building, save a building, which actually did happen on the PlayStation 5 controller already. So kind of having a chance to go and have people have more of a hands-on, even if they're from more on the Xbox side, would make a lot more sense, a lot of the Bethesda side. And that's also, don't forget, a lot of folks, say on the Xbox side in general, have been very, very proactive in making their controllers, utilizing their controllers, and you kind of sometimes have to go and realize that for the controller scheme, because you don't want to have like really weird, awkward buttons, and that's kind of why we usually kind of default to certain things like, circle on the far right, to sprinting, stuff like that, where people are used to, or using like the triggers more so for like, doing any type of action in games, like say Halo, etc. So it kind of makes sense. Like that's a really big feature you have to always think about, and sometimes games do it well. And that's why some things like, say, Ghostwire Tokyo, utilizing some of this PS5 stuff and also helping on features, giving feedback on features, is really cool. So with Ghostwire Tokyo coming in the next few weeks, they do actually have a lot of different other features of pleasing ways. And also, this is obviously there to help to recreate the feelings of ripping up, like, just pop all the things in the characters, all the ghosts and stuff like that. And as well, you could also say things like the pitter-patter of rainfall, which I think is always really cool, because if you hold your controller, you can essentially feel like you're inside the game. Now, of course, granted, you're not. Like, I'm sure it's nothing comparison to the real life, like just going outside in the water. But I'm sure you guys can understand, like, it just makes the game feel at least a little teensy bit more. It makes it feel like you're getting your money's worth just a little teensy bit more. Or to say like this, it even has like the tension of pulling back a bowstring and other delightful and unexpected sensations that simply aren't possible on a regular controller. Which is cool, because it is a really big selling point on the PlayStation. And when you literally have Xbox developers now, they are literally trying their best to go and utilize and make the controllers better. So now, first and foremost, that might be really good for Xbox, because if you literally have your game company working, that's your own in-house game studio, paid like $10 billion for, it's really cool to see in-house, because they could also maybe utilize that same technology to go and make the Xbox controller even better. So think like an Xbox Pro controller. What can they do in the next generation to make it better? What other things can they integrate maybe with PC, with Steam? And that'd probably be a really big console seller, or at least controller seller, because I know I'm more of a PC guy. And if there was really cool features I could utilize on either controller, on my Steam or on, say, like EA or Battlefield or whatever, I would love it. And I would gladly utilize it for sure. And as well, they also make good money and good markups when it comes to accessories. So the fact that we're also seeing Xbox developers making really cool features and literally even giving feedback that Sony themselves takes in hand. And now this also may have just been more so maybe even for the next iteration too. Because kind of the big things meant on in is that like they want to go and make sure the controllers themselves have enough strong feedback when it comes to this too. So I think it's all around kind of nice. And even the article itself kind of goes and talks to the fact of like basically a lot of these big developers are focusing on using the DualSense controllers. They want to make sure it's looking good, and as well, it's more intriguing too because it's all owned by Microsoft, aka Xbox side too as well. But it's also even triple whammy in case you guys didn't know that Ghostwire Tokyo itself is also PlayStation exclusive for the next year. So although even Bethesda themselves are kind of making the game, you just can't even go utilize it up on actual Xbox. It's always kind of funny because you spend so much money on that in general. So all around, if you guys have also seen as of recently too, this is like could be on the either side, but a lot of the feedback when it comes to these controllers is you want to make sure you can actually feel it. You want to make sure you can actually go and give them good feedback. You want to make sure you can actually go and feel the controllers. And as I mentioned, they even said that the adaptive triggers felt too weak. And that's like the big focus point too, because if you guys have even seen, the new iteration of PlayStation controllers are even stronger, where they have like bigger, wider, like, I don't know the proper word for it, basically like kind of springs to make sure it doesn't go and break, and also ideally better stuff in terms of the actual controller itself, like the actual Joy-Con itself, so it has hopefully less chance for Joy-Con drift. So with all this put together, it's kind of cool to see that Xbox developers and Xbox heads that are just kind of familiar with the whole sense of gaming and making games and doing gaming stuff overall are also utilizing these expertise to be like, this is bad. You could do this to make it better. If we are playing this and making this game, which they did, with Ghostwire Tokyo, we can do this to make it cool. We could do this to make it better. We could do this, or this. And to me, I love seeing cross developers collaborate on it, even though it may not be the expected one, it's just kind of them doing their job. But at the end of the day, it's going to be probably both good for Xbox, because Xbox controllers, like I mentioned, can now maybe use that for their next generation controller, or maybe like a mid-gen refresher that maybe has cooler extra features with the Xbox. That is awesome for the next gen of gaming, and then maybe anyone out there who has an Xbox or not who has a controller. And same thing too as well, even cooler for PlayStation because they're able to go get even more cool adaptive feedback and adaptive controls on their PlayStation controllers. So both, first and foremost, that's awesome. That's cool. And it's kind of cool to see Xbox technically, although it was technically Bethesda, but they are owned by Xbox now. So, I mean, you can kind of stretch, for a little bit for the clickbait, having a chance to go make this even happen in the first place. And I myself, I'm super excited to even go play Ghostwire Tokyo, so hopefully this game doesn't disappoint. So a little bit of a ramble video on this one, but I think it's kind of a fun story to go talk about and kind of get my thoughts on. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console Controller, Twitter and Twitch stream as well, and the Twitter giveaway down below. We got that Weeble, got that Coinbase, and I appreciate you guys so much for watching. In the first place, you guys are all beautiful. Love you guys.